In 1981, the Centers for Disease Control reports that 6 gay men in Los Angeles have fallen ill from a strange and mysterious pneumonia. And also there's a new form of cancer, and that was the beginning of what we now know to be the AIDS epidemic.
Hi, my name's Annie Crow, and I'm here to talk about the AIDS ARC Vigil. A vigil that was happening here in the Civic Center at the Federal Building. 2 men who had chained themselves to the door because they wanted to get more funding for AIDS. We were here with everybody at that time there were probably about 30 people that stayed overnight every night, and we slept out, just like on the bricks here. We didn't have any formal stretcher type things, no cots. We just slept on the cold ground, and we covered ourselves in blankets, and we huddled together in little groups to keep warm, and it was quite a rich experience in many ways.
There was a need there, and there were a lot of people who were waiting for the call, and they stood up when the call came. And it was the AIDS ARC Vigil was that. It was a collection of citizens just like you and just like me who just wanted to see some justice.
One of the people who is very near and dear to me, who I eventually lost in the epidemic, was a man by the name of Bill Paul. Bill was a gifted calligrapher, but I remember seeing his signs at the AIDS ARC Vigil, and to me it still is very heartwarming to see them in the demonstrations and such. Well, I get really choked up just speaking about him. Being strong, and then going to somebody who could barely hold himself up to drink water out of a drinking fountain.
I think about all of them, because as a nurse I've worked with so many AIDS patients. I worked with them at San Francisco General. The fact that they were on the streets and didn't have the support that they needed touched me deeply. And, to me, they were all my brothers. My own brother was gay, and he had AIDS and died in 1994. And also our sisters, our mothers, because women were affected by it as well. It wasn't just men.
We knew 4 years ago that the people who were going to be affected by this disease were not only gay men, but also needle users and women who were the sex partners of men who had this disease. We also knew that in the East Coast and other parts of the world, that many of the people, in fact a high percentage of the people, were ethnic minorities. The Health and Human Services Department division on the federal level and in most other places in this United States did nothing to prepare any of those communities for this event, even though there were some of us who said clearly, distinctly, and very, very, very directedly, this needs to happen.
The government was asleep. They just didn't seem to care.
The thing was, Ronald Reagan, England was sending out pamphlets to every one of its citizens. Europe was on the go. We got to squelch this thing. Ronald Reagan wouldn't even mention it. So somebody asked him, well, Europe's passing out these things. Why aren't you? And he says, oh, we printed them 8 months ago. And so, well, why? We're waiting for them to be folded. Okay, during all of this time, hundreds of people a day are becoming infected with HIV.
So that it's very clear to me that there is no commitment on the part of the federal government because, quite frankly, who cares about people who are gay, people who are needle users, and people who the federal government up to this point has considered being a problem.
A director in one meeting in Washington was heard to say, we don't want to lend an aura of dignity to these AIDS cases. And that, to me, is simple homophobia.
This AIDS ARC Vigil was like the pebble in the pond that got things moving. After this, the Names Project quilt, actually, basically it was the seed from here. The names were put up on placards of cardboard, and from that it went to people making them out of material and putting the names. And I think that brought it closer to home for people, because then they realized, hey, I know somebody.
I got started with a friend of mine named John Belskus. John's dead now. He died of HIV. He was a communist. And every day what happened was we had somebody chain ourselves to the Health and Human Services building every day. And we had a pool of people. And I was in that pool, so I would get arrested. We also had days when 500 people would show up. When we had Doctor Day at General Hospital, all the doctors showed up. And then we had Commie Day, a Red Day we called it. And I enjoyed that because I was chained to Angela Davis, and she's always been one of my heroes.
I thought Angela Davis was sort of prophetic for her time. She's a prophetic person. She really is drawing attention to some areas of people's lives where they feel hopeless and desperate. And she's razor edge in her critique of capitalism in the West, and we need to hear it.
My duty was to get arrested. Okay, and I'm sure there are times that I must have spoke up, but I kind of left that to John. John was kind of the leader. But then Angela Davis gave him a lecture one day saying, you do not get up there and speak unless you know your shit. Any question that they can ask you and you haven't got the answer, then you're unprepared. Okay, and talking about a lady who had, her history. Because I gave my mother a picture of me chained to Angela Davis. And somebody told, she was a communist. So my mother put the picture away for years. And then she saw Angela Davis on the Oprah show. So then she started showing all the old ladies in the senior complex a picture of her son chained to Angela Davis.
Yeah, but she was indispensable to the whole movement at the time.
We share a vested interest with people of all walks of life, certainly with the disabled people in the United States, with people who, because they have been involved in the cause of social justice for the last 20 years, all the way from the Freedom Riders through the anti-war movement, through the anti-apartheid movement, are seeing that this is one more instance where united we stand, divided we die one by one.
A lot of people in the city who have AIDS who are not out here outside in the cold. Why are you personally involved?
One of the things I'm personally involved is about the people that has died with AIDS and ARC, the people that are still alive that can't come out here, that are in the hospitals. And when I'm in my hotel room, I think about dying. I'm scared to be alone and all this. And when I'm out here talking to people about my condition, about my health, it helps me. And then I have talked to people that has just been diagnosed with AIDS, and it helps me talk to them because I've been there through the turmoils they have been through, because their family disowning them and all this, because I already been there. My family has disowned me since I came down with AIDS.
You see, there's a matter of time here. Some people are looking at it as their last year, where others are looking forward to the future. We're running out of time here.
My family don't want to have nothing to do with it since I came down with the AIDS. But the people out here that comes out here and sees us, brings us hot food, blankets, and other things, they're my family too. And that's the only people I can turn to right now.
Doesn't it feel strange to be outside of this complex here, this office building?
Yes, it does.
Why is that?
Because it's my first time getting anything political like this. And I'm kind of scared about it, but I'm doing it.
Do you feel good about it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I think we can cut it.